work with Green String Network as a consultant. Actually, for the question that we were given, from your lens and work, what are the key elements of various forms of mind control? And actually, now I'm going to articulate some of the forms of mind control. So today we are going to discuss or to articulate some really mind control techniques that were used not just by ordinary people in interpersonal relationships but also in groups. Isolation. Physical isolation can be very powerful, but even when physical isolation is impossible or not practical, manipulators will typically attempt to isolate your mentality. This may be achieved in a number of ways, from 1 week seminars in the country of criticizing your family and circle of friends, limiting any other influence by controlling information flow is the ultimate goal. Criticisms. Criticisms may be used as an isolation tool. The manipulators will use or will usually speak in as against them terms, criticize the outside world and claim their own superiority. According to them, you must feel lucky to be associated with them. Social proof and peer pressure. Those who attempt to manipulate large groups of people will typically use social proof and peer pressure to brainwash newcomers. Social proof is a psychological phenomenon where some people assume that the action and the beliefs of others are appropriated, and because everyone does not everyone does that must be justified. This works especially well when an individual is not sure what to think, how to behave, or what to do. A lot of people in such situations will simply look at what others do and do the same. What makes you the way you are? Take this test to discover your personal type. Fear of alienation. Newcomers to manipulate groups will usually receive a warm welcoming and will form a number of new friendships that seems to be much deeper and more meaningful than anything that they have ever experienced. Later on, if any doubt arise, these relationships will become a powerful tool to hold them in the group. Even if they are not completely convinced, the life in the outside world may seem very lonely. Repetition. Constant repetition is another powerful persuasion tool, although it may seem too simplicity to be effective. But repeating same message over and over again, it makes it familiar and easy to remember. When repetition is combined with social proof, it delivers the message without a fail. Existence of affirmation as a self-improvement techniques is another proof that repetition works. If you can persuade yourself through repetition, chances are someone may attempt to use repetition to manipulate you into thinking and behaving in a certain way. Fatigue. Fatigue has sleep deprivation result in physical and mentally tiredness. When you are physically tired and less alert, you are more susceptible to persuasion. A study mentioned in Journal of Experimental Psychology shows that individuals who had not slept for only 21 hours were more susceptible to suggestion. Another one is forming new identity. Ultimately, manipulators want to redefine your identity. They want they want you to stop being yourself and become a robot. Someone who mindlessly follows their orders using all methods and mind manipulation techniques mentioned above. They will attempt to extract a confession from you, some form of acknowledgement that you believe that there are good people doing a good thing. Slight variations are possible. In the beginning, it might be something seemingly insignificant, like agreeing that the members of the groups are funny and loving people of that some of their views are indeed valid. Once you accept that one little thing, you may be more ready to accept another one, and then another one, and then another one. Before you know it, out of your desire to be consistent with what you do and you say, you start identifying as one of their group member. This is particularly powerful if you know that your confession were recorded or filmed. Just in case you forgot, there is a physical proof of your new identity. Now, after reading this, you may be wondering about groups in your life. Are they manipulating you? Let's pretend you joined Greenpeace. It all started with a small donation, then some type of fun event, a lot of new friends, and before you know it, you are sitting in a little boat protesting shells drilling in the polar region while your education and career are put on hold. What happened here? Did Greenpeace manipulate you in doing this? No. They influenced you while they got you to do something you would never consider doing before. Greenpeace does not use you to their own advantage. They ask you to do what they believe is right, although opinions may vary, and you agreed there is no personal gain here. Compare that to, let's say, a controlling karate teacher who is verbally and physically abused toward his student while expecting total admiration and obedience in return. Who makes them things like they are the only group of people who are about to know some special secret that they will put both Terminator and Rambo to shame. Whether his motives are here are financial or a simple desire to control and feel superior, there is no doubt he is using mind manipulation techniques mentioned above. Things get even more complicated when you discover they are being manipulated by your significant other. Here are 10 signs you are dating a narcissist psychopath. Only therapy that truly works. Uh, I think I'll share some little online CBT platform to help deal with relationship problems, anxiety, depression, addiction, and more include professional follow-up by CBT therapy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Actually, some of the tactics militants use, one of it is misidentity. And I've found myself several times in the hands of military. They suspect me as a terrorist. Uh, and then, to what I remember now, I've slept in a cell for 46 days, being innocent, but they label me as a terrorist. So I've been arrested like 8 times as a terrorist in my own country. And the best thing is, I've never indulged myself with any bad groups. I've never indulged myself with any bad activity. But they only keep labeling me as a terrorist. They misidentity me with terror groups, or maybe I recruit. You see, I look like Somali, and I used to have long beards. So when they normally come across with me with the long beards, they just suspect me as a terrorist. So misidentity and labeling are the tactics that military use to jeopardize our freedoms. This is what I can do to my part. Or how can we protect? What can we do to protect this group or these people? I think we should introduce, or we should come up with a trauma healing session or training, because I myself, I am a victim of terror. As I told you, I've been arrested 8 times in my own country, innocent. So, several times when I'm in the hand of military or police officers, they normally use very bad languages, whereby they pushed me. I even reached a place whereby I said now I should join these bad groups like Al Shabaab's or ISIL or Boko Haram, because you can imagine every time somebody pushing you to be a thief and you are not a thief. So sometimes you can even come up with an idea. Okay, let me today try to be a thief. So I've been preparing myself to join this malicious group in order to get more knowledge and to come back and revenge. But I thank God, when I came up to meet Green String Network, they did a therapy or a trauma healing training to me. That is where I came with the point of returning. It was only a timing bomb for me to join bad groups, but I thank God, and I really thank Green String Network, the organization that deals with trauma healing as well as creating safe space. So they trained me in order for me not to be available or to be easy taken by this malicious group. After undergoing the trauma healing training, I first got a time to understand myself, who am I? Then I got a time uh, to be given some tools. If anyone jeopardize my freedom, I use them, like breathing exercise. The organization even create a safe space. After training me, I was given some little money to go back to my own to my own town, to look the vulnerable youth who were eagerly ready or nearly to join this malicious group like Al Shabaab and etc. So I trained the boys or the young guys in my area, and it was a very wonderful training I ever had in my life. It really changed it really changed my life, because I felt like I was lonely, and I felt like the best way to revenge uh, to this military is to go and get some ideas on how to use machine guns and to come back and revenge. But after undergoing the trauma healing training, I was able first to forgive them, whereby forgiveness is very hard for the one who have wronged you. But through that training, I was managed, or I was able to forgive those who wronged me. Then I was able even to help my fellow youth who undergone the same traumatic event just like me. So coming up with trauma healing session or trauma healing training might be a way forward to help the next generation. And trust me not, now I've managed to train more than 1,000 police officers. In 7 years ago, I couldn't even talk with any officer due to the torturing that they gave to me. But after undergoing the trauma healing, I've now trained almost more than 1,000 police officers on trauma healing as well as stress management. So I think if we introduce this trauma healing in a way whereby it will help our fellow generation or our fellow youth not to fall the trap that I've been to. The trauma healing program, we have some modules whereby you'll be taken to understand what is trauma. Then the second module is awareness, trauma awareness and practices. What can you do if you are traumatized? You know, the government cannot support everyone. So the Green String Network came up with a methodology to help ourselves in creating awareness and practices. As I told you, breathing exercise is one of the healing tool for the traumatized community or for the traumatized guy. Another module is we are focusing on relationship. How does relationship being affected when you are traumatized? Your family members, your friends, the police officer who were my enemies. The third module is security. How does security affect one if is traumatized? Another module is identity. You know, when you are traumatized or when you have trauma, you lose your identity or you lost your identity. Another module is resilience. In the training, you are being taught to be resilient. I've been tortured several times by police officers. They really tortured me severely. They kept me in a cell for 46 days, innocent. So you can imagine being innocent in your own country and people are labeling you as a terrorist. So in the trauma healing, we have a module called resilience. You are being shown how to be resilient even if the things are tough, even if you are traumatized. So another module is healing and transformation. As I told you, I've tried to heal a lot of police officers in my country. I've tried to create safe space for my fellow youth who will undergo the same traumatic event I did. So I think coming up with this way of bringing trauma healing to our community can be a ladder to have a very bright future. You know, may I add something? By forgiving your enemy, it takes ability, and there are some methods or ways someone must undergo in order to forgive the enemy. As I told you, the police officer were my trauma, were my enemies, were my big threats. But you can't believe now. I don't take any dinner without a police officer in my home. I always take dinner with a police officer in my home. Every night I have to invite a police officer. And this comes from the training of the trauma that I told you by Green String Network. They were my enemies, but you cannot imagine now they are my sisters, they are my brothers, they are my friends. And the best thing is, I've come up with a program in my own police station to plant a very beautiful flowers in order to create the integration between I myself plus the police officers. So in my own police station, uh, I normally visit twice every day. In the morning to shower, to watering my flowers, and even during evening, so that to create a very good relationship between youth and officers, and even to create a better safe space for us to discuss those issues which makes us apart. And through the training of trauma healing, I've come to realize that the best revenge is to forgive. The best revenge I ever had or I ever taught by the Green String Network is to let it go. As I told you in our modules in the training of trauma, we have a topic which talks about the resilience. And in resilience, we normally focus on Joseph's story. I think you all aware of Joseph's story. Uh, we Muslims, we normally have verses in Quran or the whole chapter of the Yusuf story, of Joseph's story. What happened to his brothers, what what was done to him, and then through forgiveness is whereby he became a king of Egypt. So we don't know what tomorrow holds for us. The best thing is let's forgive our enemies so that we can live peaceful.